Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2. And today I'm going to be giving you part 16 of What If Naruto Got His Memory Sealed Away. Remember to get this one to 300 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Given a Second Chance over on Anime King, and enjoy that guys. And also, I posted a new episode of What If Naruto Learn the Clone's Secret in the Beginning on Anime King 2, so go ahead and check it out and enjoy. And later on I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto Was Yosuke King, so stay tuned for that guys and I hope you guys enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you're hearing my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and supports. And yeah, without further ado, what is we begin this new episode? Begin the intro. So the last time we left off, Naruto pulled Sai out of the water. As they came up on shore, Sai was out cold. Meanwhile, Deidara was up on top, as Sasori was looking at him, wanting to hear the truth, as he explained to him that the Jinchuriki jumped off into the whirlpool. Deidara was surprised when Sasori wasn't that mad, as he was confused. But Sasori told him once he doesn't see a body, he's not dead. And it seems like Sasori knew a lot about the place, about Uso. Seeing that Sasori knew that there was underground caves. With that, Naruto had woken up sometime earlier after shutting his eyes to get some rest, to allow his body to recuperate and relax. As Sai came to as well, they heard some loud thump, as the both of them decided to went through the catacombs. As they realized it was a giant golem there, the thing tried to squash them over and over, but they end up outpacing it. As he arrived to a vault, as Naruto picked up a book as it was from one of the Uzumakis when they were being attacked. As Naruto read the name, it was Sasori. It seemed like Sasori was hired here to clean up the squads, as the Uzumakis face off against Sasori, but his puppet army wiped them out. As the man was writing, Naruto saw blood on the journal book, as the man saying that this was his last entry. But as long as the Uzumaki treasures is still here, the Uzumakis will still live on, through anyone that is left. As Naruto found a sword to replace his now broken blade, and he also found some scrolls which he stuffed in his pockets, seeing that they couldn't use chakra in here to seal them away. Sai was then wide-eyed when he saw there was a girl, as Naruto put some blood on it, as this strange substance started to melt. As the girl fell out, she had white hair and golden eyes, and she was rather naked. Yeah, completely naked. As the girl noticed that, she was very soft, as Naruto expect a outlash or something, but she wasn't angry or anything. The giant golem came in there, and she told it to stop. The thing just stopped as she removed the seals on it, and put them on her neck like a necklace as it shrank. As Naruto and Sai were shocked, well Naruto that most, Sai wasn't really showing emotions, as she said that she was the one that created the seals to animate it. As she was kind of disappointed in Naruto's sealing ability, seeing that he was a Uzumaki, he was supposed to be a great sealer. But Naruto told her to give him a break, he just recently learned the art. As, hearing about the Uzumaki demise, she was saddened by that. She ended up crying herself to sleep, as Naruto and Sai stayed with her until next morning. Meanwhile, Kakashi and his team was heading towards the coast, as they need to find Naruto, as Kakashi was starting to get worried. Where the hell was Naruto? As he couldn't go back, not that he would without Naruto. When the girl woke up, she gave them her name, telling them that her name was Himako, as she decided to become Naruto's teacher in Fuinjutsu. Seeing that she wasn't a real Uzumaki, she was trained there, and Naruto being the last Uzumaki, well, that she know of right here, she decided to become his teacher. And seeing how good she was, Naruto did not decline the help, It could probably also help him with his seal. And with that, they left the catacombs and went back on surface. As Naruto and Sai sent something, Himako didn't, as Naruto realized she wasn't a ninja, as she told him she was never trained in ninja arts, only Fuinjutsu. Well, at least she was good at Fuinjutsu. As Naruto created clones and told him to watch Himako with everything. As he and Sai headed off. As Naruto had enough of Deidara. Activating his cloak around him, he dashed forward, ripping through the bird, as Deidara sent an explosive down on him. Deidara tried his best to keep Naruto in check, but Naruto was just moving too fast, and he was unable to catch him. Meanwhile, some of the clones were slaughtered by Sasori, who emerged as Himako. Look, as the rest of the clones surrounded her to protect her. As Deidara flew off, if he cannot get the kid to surrender, he will force him by capturing the girl. As Naruto realized that and told Sai to cut him off. So yeah guys, that was basically last where we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So let's start this new episode. Two clones remain, as one of them picked up Himako, as the two of them jumped away from the scene, as an iron tail just came out of nowhere and slaughtered some of them. Clone-sama, who is attacking us? Asked Himako, as she clutched at the necklace tightly. The clone she spoke to was in front of her, watching, as the other was behind her. I don't know Himako, but if I had to guess, it had to be Deidara's partner, because that is who Sai went after, and Boss did as well. So his partner must be somewhere around here. It seems this one isn't a musclehead, as most of them are prone to being, a voice said. Or maybe his clones are just smarter than him. But if that was the case, they would have just saved themselves by dispelling, so they wouldn't feel the pain of death that they're going to feel. The clones reach on their back for their swords, as if we'll just let you hurt Himako like that. Her eyes widened as she saw the blades that the clones were holding and the markings on it. I guess it's just easier to kill you than talking to you. You're just a clone after all. With that, Senbons came flying at all of them, as the two clones jumped in the way protecting Himako. But when the smoke cleared, Himako was no longer there. Hey, dumbass! I thought my clones told you that I wasn't going to let you hurt her like that, said Naruto, as he was holding on to Himako. Sai's bird landed behind Naruto, as Naruto placed Himako on it. Naruto-sama, she said. It's okay, Himako, Naruto said. As he turned to look at Sai, take her with you. She'll be more safer with you up there. This fight is more in my alleyway anyway. And if you meet up with Deidara, just remember to take off his arms. By the way, can you take Deidara all on your own, Naruto asked. Absolutely, said Sai. As Sai looked over at the figure that appeared, a hunched, grotesque-looking man wearing the Akatsuki robes. But, are you sure, Senpai? Sai said, as Naruto turned his face and saw what Sai saw. I'm absolutely sure. If you can, get her somewhere safe. And deal with Deidara. Sai nodded, understood. Good luck, Senpai, he said, as he took off with Himako. Well. You must be Deidara's partner, Naruto said. You guys must be really weak for them to send you first. The Akatsuki must be thinking, send the weak people, so they can die first, right? It must be bad, because we're gonna kill the both of you, and leave you here to die all alone, without anyone. As Sasori laughed, I guess the same can be said for you. You will be going down in your ancestral home, but I won't be killing you. I will drag you back to our location, while we extract the demon out of you, then you will die. Well, if you say so, Naruto said. By the way, what's your name? I tried to learn the people who are after me to kill me, you know? You know, said Sasori. I don't remember doing most of this when I got here. When I got here, most of the Uzumaki members were already killed. A remarkable amount, I must admit. But to miss one, tell me. By the way, how did you escape Deidara? Asked Sasori. Oh, we fell into the whirlpool where there were hidden underground chambers. Wait, what do you mean by you miss one again? Who are you, Naruto asked. Sasori laughed. Underground chambers, of course. That is how the last defenders popped up like cockroaches the last time. Ingenious. And I mean I missed one again because the girl is obviously a Uzu survivor. Where else would you have gotten her? Who the hell are you, Naruto asked. I won't ask again before I stop being so kind and start to cut things off. From the way you're yelling and gripping your weapon so hard, I think you already know. You're right, Naruto said, his voice sounding more demonic. I do. His fangs started to bear at Sasori. I just want to hear it from your voice. Very well then. I am Sasori of the Red Sand. The ground exploded under Naruto as he moved off so fast. Now die! As Naruto brought down his sword to slice Sasori into two. The red chakra cloaked all around him. Meanwhile, Utai and Himako. "I have to go back to Naruto-sama," said Himako as she held on tightly to Sai so she wouldn't fall off the ink bird. "I have something he wants to know." Sai kept his eyes peeled for Deidara. As Sai understands the only reason Naruto tell him to leave the area because he's gonna draw on the Kyuubi's chakra. "I can't let you go back to Senpai, Himako-san. It will be best if you stay with me for the time being. But he needs to know something important. I need to tell him how to use his sword." "His sword? The one he picked up in the vault? Why didn't you tell him about it when he first took it?" Sai asked. Himako frowned. "I didn't know that he had taken it. I wasn't paying attention to Naruto-sama weapon when you first found me. But when his clone drew the sword and I was able to see the mark on the blades, I realized what he had." "How did he even get it anyway?" "He pulled it from the wall. That triggered the event that led us up to you." "What is it anyway?" "It's the Millennium Sword. It's an heirloom of Uzu." "Wait, what are you doing, drawing?" she asked. Sai looked back at her, giving her a forced smile. "Don't worry about it. Please, continue." Back with Naruto. Naruto was clashing against Sasori's tail. As the tail then pushed, but Naruto flipped over it as he came down the driving blade. But Sasori swatted his tail after Naruto, making Naruto leap out of the way. "You're fast as the bastard, aren't you?" Sasori said, as his tail went back into his robe. As Naruto narrowed his eyes at Sasori, so much of him was covered by that damn robe, he couldn't tell what he was holding under there. Poisons, weapons, anything. What did this man have that could have possibly taken down the bulk of an entire shinobi village all alone? As he rushed at Sasori again and slashed at him as he was blocked by that tail. Naruto stabbed his blade right in front of him as he went through hand sign. Lightning release. Live wire jutsu. As he slammed his hand on the ground, a speedy strip of lightning went straight towards Sasori. Sasori had to jump away as the attack came to a stop and imploded on itself. Electric fields just bursting through the area. As Naruto grabbed his sword and dashed towards Sasori at tremendous speed. But Sasori opened his mouth. Seeing how many senbons coming at him, Naruto realized that he couldn't block them in time as he rolled out of the way. What the hell? Did those things just come from his mouth? Who the hell even does that, Naruto thought. Sasori threw his tail out at Naruto again, but he missed as Naruto started to dodge. As Naruto raised his fists. "Wind release, divine fist of the wind god," he said as he thrust the wind fist forward. As Sasori brought up his tail as the force of the wind made contact with it, Sasori's tail was blown back a bit, but he still stood his ground. Naruto then started to run around him, making Sasori saw a red blur as Naruto was moving incredibly fast. As Sasori used his tail and tried to swap or stab him, but he couldn't get Naruto. Naruto was just too fast. "You're really beginning to work my nerves, boy," said Sasori. Sasori eyes narrowed in his puppet as he had to jump away as several wind slashes came at him. But he wasn't fast enough as they ripped right through his Akashi cloak. As he landed, "I must say you're pretty fast, kid. That would have worked if I was normal." What? Naruto looked at Sasori in his, without his cloak, as he saw a demonic mask on Sasori's back, with a tail coming out of the mouth of the mask. "What are you? You barely look human." Sasori laughed. "That's because he's the puppet boy. My puppet armor, Hiroko." "Oh then, so I guess I'll just have to smash your puppet to get to the squishy puppeteer underneath, won't I?" "Well, you can try, boy," said Sasori as he raised his hand and fired it towards Naruto that looked like a torpedo. As Naruto leaped out of the way, but the torpedo rotated and launched tons of wooden cylinders from within. As the cylinders broke open and launched needles everywhere, in all directions, Naruto crossed his arms in an X motion. Wind release. Whirlwind pyramid. A violent force of wind exploded from Naruto, blowing away all the needles. When the dust cleared, Naruto was gone. Meanwhile, Naruto was standing behind a large boulder. He had to break Sasori out of that to get to the real body. He then heard a squeak as he looked down to see a small mice. The mice then burst, revealing ink. As Naruto looked at it, a smile came to his face. "Sai, you beautiful bastard. And you, Hamako. I definitely think I'm gonna start to call you Hamako-chan from today on." Back with Sai and Hamako. Hamako gave Sai a worried look. "Are you sure that Naruto-sama will get your message about the sword?" "Yes, Senpai will get the message, rest assured." As Sai was still looking for somewhere to place Hamako. "Do you think he will let him use it?" asked Sai. "Yes, I'm certain," said Hamako. "If he couldn't use it, then he would never allow him to pick it up." Hopefully, he's good at finding out things on his own, because I don't really know that much about it, she said. Other from what I tell you. Well, Naruto-senpai is very surprising. He will figure it out. Sai then narrowed his eyes. Here we go. Please hold on tightly and don't let go, Himako-san. It seems like I won't be able to let you down. It's a good thing you decided to come to me, said Deidara on his bird. I thought I would have to go over there and interrupt Sasori-sama's battle, so I could get one of you, to use as a hostage. Sai, who is that? Asked Himako. That man is the main reason why we found you, Himako-san. Allow me to go over there and thank him for you. Super Beast, imitation picture, said Sai. You have more fight in you this time, said Deidara. But that excuse of art, that lame, worthless excuse. Pitiful. As he created birds that clashed with Sai's bats, as some of the birds went around the bats. How much time do you need to hear it? True art is an explosion! Guts! Sai maneuvered the birds, despite Himako's screams, as she clutched onto him tight. I won't be so easily defeated as before, said Sai. Deidara released more birds as he let all of them fly. Well, let's just see about that. Sai narrowed his eyes, seeing more birds coming. Ink mist jutsu, he said. As Sai released a lot of birds that burst into ink that shrouded the area in a dark, thick mist. As Deidara birds went in there, cut, said Deidara as the explosions went off. As Sai burst out of the smoke in another location. You really think I would send my explosive clay in there, knowing that it wouldn't get you? I just wanted to know your location. It was then that insects, many of them, came over Sai, Himako, and the bird that Sai was on. Now, there is restrictions about killing the Jinjulke, but there is no such restrictions. Guts! As the explosions went off, Deidara smirked until he saw ink. Deidara had to duck as his head was nearly cut clean off as he flipped over to the lower side of his bird that grabbed him with his little feet. Who are you looking for? Said a voice. Sai narrowed as he saw Deidara on another bird over to the left. As the bird was holding onto a clay form of Deidara. Guts! But Deidara jumped off the bird as it exploded. He was pushed through the air by the violent force, but his bird scooped him up before he could fall to the ground. As Sai patted the ink bird on his head, looking back up at Deidara. Meanwhile, Himako was watching as she clutched her necklace. Sai-san and Naruto-sama are fighting so hard, and I can't help. All I'm good for is making seals. No, what's wrong with that, she said. Seals are the backbone of this village. I will help. I am good at seals after all, she said. She reached into her pocket. He didn't have much ink to spare, but it's more than enough. I'll just have to do what I can with this. She looked up at Sai. I won't be useless here, Sai-san, she said. Back with Naruto. That was what Sasori heard. As he turned to see Naruto walking from behind the crater, his sword in one hand, he was just moving it around gently. I knew you weren't a coward, said Sasori. Hiding. I knew that you would come out and fight despite the odds. Naruto raised his blade. I am your master, whether you accept it or not, he said. Now help me take this bastard down for your nation. As the blade started to glow, as he started to release a humming sound, the wind around Naruto started to pick up violently. Now, Millennium release. Primary materialization, Naruto said. The sword dematerialized and then reformed as grey and silver gauntlets around Naruto's forearms and ankles. Blades came from the side of Naruto gauntlets. On his legs, going down, blades came out of the side of his sandals. Make sure that you don't rip yourself apart while you use these blades, said Kyubey. As entertaining as that would be, having your body being eradicated by a power sword would be a massive slap in the face. Naruto stretched himself. You know, this really doesn't have a name, he said, looking at Sasori. I guess I'll have to give it one. Millennium. Gauntlets. Sasori scoffed, so you got some piece of metal. And you think you can fight me, boy? Well, it's worth a try. Now let's see what these things got. Sentry, rush! As Naruto sent with chakra down to his blades. He moved off with tremendous speed as Sasori lashed out his tail at Naruto. As Naruto started to spin wild, as his body looked like a red buzzsaw with the blade sticking out and he was spinning with the red chakra surrounding him. As the two of them then separated after clashing once. There was a loud thud as Sasori's puppet body was sliced to pieces and fell down to the ground. as a grin came to Naruto's face, his back turned to Sasori. Meanwhile, Sai was clashing with Deidara on his bird, as Sai jumped off back on his own bird, as the both of them were flying, throwing explosives and ink creatures, as Sai was running out of ink. All of a sudden, Deidara charged straight towards him, as Sai created 3 ink tigers that jumped towards Deidara, but Deidara then leaped off his own bird, as Sai tried to move back but he wasn't fast enough. "Guts," Deidara said, as the bird exploded, caused Sai to put his arms in front of his face, as the explosion sent him sailing down towards the ground, as Deidara landed on one of his other birds, as he looked up with a smile on his face. Back with Naruto and Sasori, Naruto still had his back turned as he heard a rather young voice for a man who was supposed to be in their 30s or something like that, right? But he was looking down at the blades. This was the only way he could channel wind chakra into them, as Sai's message told him what Himako said. This blade was a construct of the leader of the village back then. The final ceremony to get a new leader was to find someone who can push their will over the blade and get the blade to bend to the user's will. The gauntlets were a physical manifestation of Naruto's will and spirit. Himako didn't know any techniques, seeing that every user has their own different style, different release form, so Naruto was coming up with his own on the fly after creating these gauntlets. But it felt easier. It was like his body was attached to the blades. It was like they were one separate being coming together, and the Kyuubi's chakra was fluctuating through it as well. Sasori pulled off the rest of the piece of puppet. As Naruto turned, Naruto was surprised to see a redhead with a lazy expression who looked like a teenager. "Huh? You sounded way older inside that stupid puppet," Naruto said. "So I've been told," he said, as a poof of smoke surrounded him. "I guess it's time I become serious," as he summoned a puppet that had black hair with a black cloak as well. "Let me introduce you to the third Kazekage." "So you made a puppet image of the third Kazekage?" Why, Naruto asked. "No, this is the real third Kazekage. I defeat him in battle and claim his body as my own to use as a puppet." "So, you killed a Kage and you turned him into a puppet. You made a human being into a puppet. You know what, I'm not even going to ask you to go into detail on how you managed to do that." Sasori nodded. "Good. Because sitting and explaining to someone that won't be conscious for too long and will be dead soon anyways would be a waste of the both of our times, right?" As he sent the Kazekage straight towards Naruto. As Naruto dashed forward, Sentry Rush! A motion of Sasori's finger opened the Kazekage's mouth as a strange iron powder started to come out. It then took the form of a solid iron wall in front of them. Naruto's attack hit the iron barrier, as there was a horrible grinding noise before Naruto was bounced off the wall. "Well, that's just fantastic," Naruto said, after shaking his head, as he created a dozen clone. "Make that puppet freak pay." The clones rushed in as Naruto watched from a distance, all of them jumping or going around the wall to attack Sasori. As Naruto stood there as he got the memories of how they were destroyed, the wall of iron then collapsed. Iron sand drizzle. All of them spread out like needles, surrounding a large course of the area as Naruto took it out of there, leaping straight over. Naruto formed the Rasengan in his hand. He saw the memories from his clones as his clones were able to create a small attack on the Kazekage. Piece of his cloak was shredded, and he could see a chest compartment. Naruto watched Kazekage held his hand up as he was coming down with the Rasengan. "Thousand hand manipulation military art," said Sasori, as the Kazekage's hand opened up like a compartment with dozens of summoning seals. From those seals came a large amount of puppet arms expanding towards Naruto. Before Naruto could land his Rasengan right in the center, one of the arms opened up and shot poison gas, filling the entire air. As Naruto had to jump away as he landed, Sasori smirked, "Going right into my poison. Do you feel it?" he asked. "So, that is what that was," Naruto said. "Kyuubi, system purge please," Naruto said, as he felt the Kyuubi's chakra going through his system. "Yeah, I felt it," Naruto said. "Really bad and scary. Your poison is useless by the way," Naruto said. Even though his face didn't show it, Sasori was surprised to hear that. He was banking on his poison to subdue Naruto, because it would slowly then kill him in 3 days. But not after till they capture him and remove the Bichu from him. That was the only way he could capture him and bring him to that point. He has to paralyze him to get him there. But Naruto wasn't given enough time to think, as Naruto pulled out a handful of shurikens, as he covered them with wind chakra and tossed them towards Sasori. As Sasori used the puppet to create another iron wall in front of him, but Naruto went through hand signs. Shuriken Shadow Clone technique, he said, as they multiplied the hundreds, digging deep into the iron wall and even flying over it, as Naruto went through another set of hand signs. Lightning release, lightning shurikens. Sasori had to leap away as the shuriken started to fire off a torrent of lightning down towards him. A few jolts actually hit the Kazekage, and some of them hit Sasori as it was just so much. Sasori cursed as the attack has disrupted his puppet. It will slowly lose its power and it will be useless soon and deactivate. You aren't going to beat me in a lucky scratch, Sasori. I was wondering though, how were you able to take down this village anyway? This village was too dependent on its foot jutsu. Everything that made this village powerful was based on its sealing techniques. From the genjutsu sealing, they have it up at the front to make people wonder around if they ever come across this island. After being able to negate that because of my puppet, I was able to come right in. They weren't as skilled as I thought. They just had great mastery in Fuinjutsu. Well, no matter how you cut it, you're still one man. They had an army, a military force. Well, I suppose I can pry the answer from you before I kill you off for good, right? Finish me off for good. Well then, let's see you try it, said Sasori. As Sasori made its puppet launch two massive gort of iron sand towards Naruto. Iron sand, world order, said Sasori. Back with Sai and Deidara. Sai had his tanto in his hand, gripping it tightly as he looked around for Deidara. Why was that bastard so good at covering his tracks? He and Naruto never saw him until it was too boom late. As an explosion rocked the area, as Sai was blown back violently as he had stepped on a landmine. So that is why Deidara didn't come to finish him. Looking at the burns on his legs, Sai was grateful that Deidara explosions didn't have any shrapnel in them. But his leg was still in a nasty case right now and needed help. Sai went through his supplies and checked his stuff. He still had his tanto, he had his scroll, he had enough ink to carry him through the rest of the battle. Hopefully. He had a holster full of kunais and shurikens, no explosive notes. Much like Naruto, all of his were roaring when they went into the whirlpool. He also had some gauze. That was what he needed right now, something to cover his wounds, keep them from getting infected while he ran around the battlefield. As he wrapped himself, applying some gauze, as he created some mice from ink, making them search for Deidara. Sai then heard something and he started to see a clay. It was a creature with glowing red eyes as he quickly jumped away as the thing exploded. As he looked back up, he saw a dozen of those things crawling towards him. Sai pulled shurikens and tried to hit them before they could get in closer as they exploded. But the blast signified where he was and Deidara could pick him off in time now. But he was not showing himself at all. Sai then looked up as he saw clay birds ahead. As Sai saw a massive shadow came over him, lowering his head, he heard massive explosions. But he was totally fine. That was close, Sai-san. As Sai turned to see Himako beside him. Himako, what are you doing? Senpai gave me orders to make sure that you were safe. You shouldn't be here. Himako frowned as more explosions went off. Well, that is not fair to you, is it? I mean, what am I supposed to do if you two are killed here? You're doing all the fighting, I can help. Sai winced a bit as he was starting to feel his injuries, the adrenaline from the fight wearing off. You aren't a shinobi, Himako-san. You couldn't help myself or Naruto-senpai in combat. Really? Said Himako. Look up there, she said. What do you think is shielding you right now? Your iron will to live? Oh, sturdy debris, said Sai. Himako sweat dropped. Komeinu, she said. Let's get Sai-san moving again. He's no good to us if he can't even dodge. We have to be the one to move for him. As the golem picked both of them up and placed them on his shoulders before stomping along. This is going to hurt me more than help me. I can't use chakra on this statue, remember? It absorbed and repelled the chakra. Oh, don't worry about that, she said as she patted the statue. I turned that off. You can do that, said Sai. She scoffed. How many times do I have to tell you and Naruto-sama? I was the one that animated him. I can control the seal array. I just turned that part off so you can fight from here on. I can't fight myself, so you have to fight for me, Sai-san. As Sai watches the golem just step on all the mine bombs. They weren't even doing that thing. As two mice crawled up the golem's legs and came up to Sai. We need to turn northwest towards the tower. That is where Deidara is. Hamako nodded. You hear him. Take us to the Sindel. Meanwhile, this is Bullshit, Naruto said, as he kept on dodging. Sasori's last attack had created one large. It was like a forest of pure iron sand that just kept off branching on and off, as it was pushing out in every direction trying to kill him. Many more potential for him to be impaled by iron branches as they surrounded the entire area. As Naruto now stood in the middle of the massive iron spikes that spread out everywhere. Something was wrong, the blades felt heavier and heavier. They felt like feathers when you just activate them, but now they were getting heavier. As he started to pant, "Kyuubi, what's wrong?" he said. "You are not very attentive towards your reserve, are you? You can't feel those blades, they are siphoning off your chakra." Kurama asked in a sarcastic tone. "You didn't think that feeling your chakra flowing through the gauntlets, like it was a part of you, was good, did you? It was steadily siphoning off your chakra to power the gauntlets and your transformation." "No, I didn't really feel it. I'd never really run out of chakra before, not like this," Naruto said. As the gauntlets fall off Naruto, in a bright flash they return back to the blade. "Damn it," Naruto says, he grabs the blade. "This is not the time for this. Give me more chakra," he said. "You know, if you use my chakra as a glorified soldier pill, you're going to be a walking dead after this fight is over, right? Especially since you're not using it as a booster, you're using it as a replacement for your own." "Duh," said Naruto, rolling his eyes. Not that the Kyuubi could see it. "Do I have a choice right now? Just keep the juice coming until I finish this clone off and link back up with Sai and Himako. I'll be sure to laugh tonight when you're in pain," said the Kyuubi, as he started to increase the flow of chakra. As Naruto jumped out of the way, dodging more iron branches, as Naruto placed the blade on his back, not wanting it to dry him anymore. As the puppet started to come towards Naruto, Naruto started to play a dangerous game of cat and mouse, dodging the puppet. As, while he was moving past it, out of nowhere Sasori saw Naruto spin around. His body became enveloped in the Kyuubi's chakra as his tail lashed out at the puppet. The puppet drove a blade from his arm right towards Naruto's shoulder to pin him down, but Naruto twisted his body and wrapped his tail right around the puppet, pulling it close, a Rasengan form, as the Kyuubi's chakra turned it purple, as he smashed it right into its stomach, that sent it sailing down. The thing exploded down to the ground, as Naruto landed with a boom, crushing the thing's skull to make sure it was dead. Well, it was a puppet, destroyed. "Oh, sorry about that," Naruto said. "I guess I don't play well with other people's toys." As Naruto saw a flash of red, moving with tremendous speed, Naruto ripped right through Sasori's arm as he landed, as he came out of the iron forest. Well. Naruto's eyes went wide as he didn't see a drop of blood. "Barbaric, aren't you?" said Sasori. "Lucky that I'm not too normal." As Sasori's hand fly back over to him, and came back on his hand, like it was never even gone. "Okay, I was willing to accept that you turned the Kazekage into a puppet after seeing it fight, but this? How the hell can you even do that?" Naruto asked, as Sasori's cloak was now gone, to show its body. "You're a puppet?" Pulling off the rest of the cloak for Naruto to see, despite the part Naruto ripped off. Naruto saw that there was compartments on his chest and his stomach, and his back. "It's very possible, seeing that I am a living puppet, and there is nothing ludicrous about it," said Sasori. "Why would I want a human body that can feel pain, that is useless, and will eventually grow weak and old, no matter what I've done? I have a body that can upgrade at will. It will never feel sickness, never grow weaker. I turn myself into the ultimate eternal art." The right compartment of his chest opened up as Sasori pulled a scroll from his back. "Now let me show you what my superior body is capable of." As he opened the scroll, as many things blasted out in the sky. "Red secret technique. Performance of 100 puppets," he said. "You wanted to know what took down the majority of this village forces." As Naruto looked up to see 100 puppets, each of them wearing red cloaks, and had different weapons. Well, reaching from different katanas. This was the technique that did most of the work. 1 against 100, Naruto said, as another tail came behind him. "I have to say, I'm disappointed, Sasori. You do know what Jinchuriki like me are meant to be, don't you?" "Army killers," Naruto said as his two tails danced behind him. "Always go with quality over quantity." The ground exploded as Naruto pushed off, launching himself right into the army of puppets, as all of them came down on him with force. Blood flying through the air showed that Naruto was being cut by the puppets, but Naruto didn't even slow down once. as Sasori was shocked when Naruto was tearing through each and every one of them, using his bare hand to rip them apart, tearing through their body like they were nothing but paper, ripping through them with his tails, lashing out with chakra arms from his body. So this was your big plan, Naruto says he jumped down. Mob me with puppets, thinking that you can win, just because you have a lot. You're the wrong person to come and fight me, Naruto said, as he took in a deep breath. Seeing that he took multiple stabs and are still standing up, Sasori sent all the remaining puppets to stab him. Naruto released a mighty roar. The force of the roar released a backlash that tear puppets from left to right. The rest were sent blasted away as their bodies made contact with the ground, as they exploded by force. As Sasori looked at Naruto, I'm impressed. I can see now why Itachi and Kisame actually said that you were troublesome. Well, I've had an entire year to deal with getting stronger to prepare myself. Itachi and Kisame are strong, but you, I don't know why they send you after me. You're nothing. But it doesn't matter. I'll rip you apart like I did every other puppet today. You think it will be that easy, said Sasori, as pipes came from the middle of his palms. As he released a raging flame coming towards Naruto. Naruto rushed straight right through the flames, with his body covered by the Kyuubi's chakra, as a pole came from Sasori's back, with 5 dropping blades spinning on it as it came at Naruto to slice him up. Naruto leaped over it and dive-bombed Sasori. As Sasori twisted his body and started to move fast as he can, with Naruto chasing after him, as Naruto started to tear across the landscape, going after Sasori. Meanwhile, as Deidara was rubbing his broken leg, jumping from a speeding bird was not a good idea. But he now saw Sai and that girl on that giant statue. They were just a walking target, but he didn't have to move to take care of them. Meanwhile, Sai narrowed his eyes over there as she controlled the golem as it swatted the clay birds out of the sky that exploded on the arm. Several more birds came as the statue turned around, but it wasn't fast enough as some of them crashed into its back, making it blow forward. As Sai grabbed onto Himako and jumped over, landing as the golem crashed to the ground. As Himako cried out as more birds came in and smashed right into the golem's head, exploded. As she watched as the head of the golem was destroyed by that massive explosion, she cursed. Where is he? Those two came from nowhere. And now, as she looked at her golem, he's gone. It took me so long to make him, she said. She then turned to Sai and saw that he was still injured. She pulled out some notes. I may not be a shinobi, but if I get close to him, I can finish him off myself. You believe you can win? Sai asked, as he was a bit skeptical. Do not underestimate the arts of Fuin Jutsu, she said. They then heard a sound, drifting through the air. What is that? Said Himako. Sai looked up and saw a man with red hair fly through the sky, as a red blur smashed right into him, smashing him straight into one of the towers, as the tower was sent collapsing over. Sai knew exactly what the second one was. Himako, we need to get out of here, he said. Himako looked at him confused. What was that? Why do we need to leave? That was Naruto-senpai fighting his opponent, and we need to leave, because being anywhere near senpai when he uses special chakra is a horrible place to be. Special chakra, said Himako. Naruto-sama's special chakra? What does it do? Sai looked over. It destroys. With Naruto and Sasori. Sasori was getting his face beaten by Naruto. As Sasori raised 2 of his palms, Naruto had to jump away as another intense wave of flames came. This one was worse than the first one, incinerating everything in front of it. As Sasori's face was cracked in different places, Sasori then took off with tremendous speed. As a long stinger came from his back, he ducked under Naruto's claw swipe as he stabbed Naruto right through the stomach with the long stinger. As Naruto's eyes opened in surprise, Sasori was pissed. He was going to kill Naruto. He was no longer going to capture him. This boy destroyed everything. All of his hard work, his favorite puppets, his most powerful puppets, everything the boy destroyed. The things that were supposed to last for all eternity just like him, and this boy destroyed them all. He will die. Looking down at Naruto's lifeless face was the only thing he wanted now, as he wondered what did a Jinchuriki puppet be like. Well, he will know soon. Sasori was jerked back though when Naruto grabbed the cable inside of him and swung around violently as he crashed Sasori into the side of another building, as Sasori was sent creaming down the entire thing. Sasori was lying broken on the ground. His head, his torso, his limbs were broken as he tried to eject one of his puppets from his back so that he could shift, but the force of the slam broke him too much. He couldn't move or anything, but he could survive this. As long as his heart is still there, he was cut off as he was yanked as Naruto pulled him straight out of the building by the cable. Fear started to creep into Sasuke's heart as he saw in one bloody hand Naruto's holding onto the cable, pulling Sasuke towards him, and in one hand he was holding a purple Rasengan. "You should never have come here," Naruto said, as he noticed a strange sealing something on the left side of his chest. Hopefully, that was an off button. "Rasengan," Naruto said, as he lashed it out. As his Rasengan hit the cylinder in Sasuke's chest, it exploded, showering blood. This was the first time in the battle Naruto seen blood from Sasuke, as the entire puppet body exploded. As Naruto grabbed the cable that was still inside his stomach and ripped it out. As he stood to his feet, coughing up a bit of blood, he steeled himself. Meanwhile, Deidara was inside of a building. As he saw Sasuke get slammed in one of the buildings, he couldn't believe things had turned out this bad. Deidara's eyes wide when he heard growls, as he saw a lot of ink tigers surrounding him. As he saw Sai coming towards him with his tonto drawn. "You shouldn't have paid attention to Naruto-senpai battle when you're fighting me, or did you forget about me?" Deidara chuckled, his leg was broken, as he looked over at Sai. "Well, I guess I shouldn't forget about you." As he looked at the ink tigers coming towards him slowly, but Deidara grabbed a little clay on his shoulder as he swallowed it. "I'm gonna show you true explosion by taking your life. Because then and only then will you understand that perfect art is an explosion," he says. He started to puff up. Sai was in no condition to run and escape this blast. "Sealing technique. Time splitter," said Himako, as she slapped the seal on Deidara's head and ran back to Sai. "Come on," she says. She placed Sai's hand over her shoulder. "We have to get out of there." As Sai saw Deidara, he was moving rather slow, his body bulging out slower than usual, than a minute ago. "What did you do?" asked Sai. "That seal I just used slow things to 1/5 of your maximum speed. I don't know how potent it will be though, since I'm not used to using anyone else's ink for my seals." Sai looked back to see Deidara as he was reaching critical mass. Sai quickly pulled the rest of his ink as he created an ink bird, as him and Himako was right on it, as it bring the both of them high up in the sky. Meanwhile, art. "It's an explosion," Deidara said as he returned back to normal speed. As he exploded, taking a huge part of the river land with him. "Well," said Himako, "that is certainly an interesting way to go out. Don't you think, Sai-san?" Sai looked down. "He's not dead." "He blew himself up. How is he not dead?" she asked. "This isn't the first time he made a false figure of himself explode. He probably switched himself out before we could reach him. Even if he could have defeated us, in that state he could not defeat Naruto-senpai. Making him stay here for any longer a waste of time." "Oh, Naruto-sama, what about him? Is he alright?" she asked, as Sai turned the bird to go to Naruto's last whereabouts. Meanwhile, Deidara was limping, as he used a tree for support. "I guess I'll have to wait till next time, little pale, drawing boy. With Sasori gone, it seems like you're the only one I can test my art against now." "I wonder," he said, "will it be my art of a single moment, or your ink constructs that win in the end?" A smile came on his face. "For some reason, I can't wait to find out." Back with Sai and Himako. Himako was digging through the rubbles, as the building that Naruto was near had fallen over after Deidara's explosion. "Naruto-sama, please say something. Tell me you're alright. Please say something," Himako said. "Ow," Naruto said as he pushed a piece of chunk off of him. "Sai, please tell me you killed that bastard." Sai Bird walked over with him on his back. "Sorry. He escaped after you killed your opponent, senpai." "Sasori," Naruto said. "I killed Sasori, that's who that was." Himako looked at Naruto in disbelief, as Naruto told her that Sasori was the one that destroyed their village. And here, Naruto-senpai had defeated him. "You're in bad condition, Sai," Naruto said. "As well as you, senpai." "Yeah, but I can walk," Naruto said. "That is because you have the Kyuubi inside of you. Normal people like me has to deal with their injuries. If chunks of building fell on you, and you can just pick the pieces off and walk up to me, that can tell that you're not normal. But how did the tower fall on you anyway? You should have been long gone by the time the explosion went off." "Oh well, you see, I was kind of picking up a few things before the explosion went off, and then the entire building just came down." "What were you picking up that got your attention like that?" Naruto was about to speak, but Himako quickly beat him to it. Naruto-sama, you're alright. As she jumped on him, as Naruto buckled under her weight. Yeah, I'm fine, Himako-chan, he said. Himako pulled back. Himako-chan, master? Yeah, well, if you're coming with me, I'm going to have to be your first friend in your new life, won't I? And Sai here will be your second. As Sai simply stared at them blankly, forcing Naruto's sweat to drop. He doesn't really have that much to say. As Naruto dropped down in the ink bird. Alright, Sai, I can't go back to Hiri or Konoha like this. There will be too much questions. So yeah, just take me somewhere where I can heal up. Well, in fact I know the perfect place. But guys, be in this episode right here. For the next part, if you already know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn the bell notifications to be posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.